With us now is Michael Makovsky, President and CEO of the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Yeah, thanks for that. We're going to go ahead and take a listen to Vice President J.D. Vance outlining his goals before departing for Switzerland.
I think we're hopefully making progress on the nuclear issue, make progress on the Lebanon ceasefire issue. Those are the two big things that I think we're going to be focused on.
So he says that he wants to make progress on a nuclear deal and progress on the fighting there in Lebanon. What do you see coming out of these technical talks?
Well, I'm not optimistic. Obviously, I think, look, this is what the Iranians do. When we talk about Hezbollah, we really need to just remember they're an Iranian proxy. It's the Iranians stirring things up when Hezbollah attacks Israeli soldiers. So it's not like, oh, look what's going on between Iran and Hezbollah, and the Iranians are just responding. They're behind this stuff. And what they're trying to do by claiming that the Strait of Hormuz is closed is that they're trying to save their proxy Hezbollah, which is a terrorist organization with a lot of American as well as Israeli blood on their hands. And they're trying to they're the ones that were behind Hezbollah getting involved and hitting Israel when the United States and Israel started the war on February 28th. And that conflict is still going on.
And what's discouraging to you about the talks themselves? My producers are telling me that's something you'd like to weigh in on.
Oh, sure. I mean, look, I don't think a deal with Iran is worth the paper it's written on, or the DocuSign that it's written on, or sealed digitally. But setting that aside, I mean, obviously, America's made this administration has made major concessions up front to the Iranians just to really open the Strait of Hormuz. And I think we stopped our leverage has continually declined. Ever since the ceasefire, we agreed to a ceasefire on April 8th. The Iranians continually violate that. I think we foolishly agreed. I mean, we could get into it if you wish, but since the Iranians say the top of their agenda in these talks right now is the Hezbollah-Israel conflict, I think one of the major mistakes of the administration in this MOU is that we agreed that we have tied the Lebanon issue to the Iranian issue. We have conceded to the Iranians that they have their influence in Lebanon, and therefore, without Israel even agreeing to this, and you have Hezbollah firing on Israeli troops, firing on northern Israeli towns, and the Israelis aren't supposed to be able to retaliate or defend themselves. And I think it's one of the problems of this agreement is that we agreed to such a thing.
Yeah, well, we can't forget who pulls the strings. They're not just a terrorist organization. They're a terror proxy of Iran. You're right. The U.S. and Iran remain at odds over who actually controls the Strait of Hormuz right now and going forward. The United States maintains that it's open. Iran says it's closing the waterway again over those Israeli strikes there in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. Talk about the challenge for the U.S. Navy to make sure ships can pass through the strait.
Yeah, so look, exactly, you're right. So the challenge is big for the U.S. Central Command, our Mideast Command under Admiral Brad Cooper. And look, their job is to make sure that ships could go freely back and forth and have to defend against Iranian drones and so on. Look, I think this just raises I think the main purpose of this MOU from the administration was to ensure the freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, and the Iranians are already violating that already, based on what they've instigated in Lebanon against Israel, and also what they're doing to the Strait of Hormuz. So it's hard to be confident about anything else related to this MOU when the Iranians have violated already so fast.
Well, President Trump is warning that the U.S. is going to impose tolls if there's no final deal in this in this 60-day period. In fact, Trump signaling that Iran isn't going to be able to charge tolls for safe passage through the strait. He says if anybody's going to impose tolls, it's going to be the U.S. How could all this play out? And what do you think about him even saying that?
Well, I can understand why he wants to say it. He's saying that the U.S. Navy is really, we're the ones spending the money and putting our soldiers on the line to ensure the freedom of navigation. Therefore, he's kind of saying we should be repaid for that. I wish he wouldn't say that, because I think our principle is the freedom of navigation. We can't allow any country to impose any fees or tolls or whatever you want to call them for the freedom of navigation of international waterways. So I think he kind of muddies the American message when he says something like that. I hope he doesn't really mean that, though.
All right. Well, I want you to take a listen to some sound from Vice President J.D. Vance again before leaving for Switzerland, saying that things in Israel and Lebanon are actually getting better. Listen to this.
It's going to be something we're just going to have to continuously manage to ensure that, Israel and Lebanon are both safe and secure. That's fundamentally the goal of this, to make the whole region safe and secure.
But we have seen more bloodshed over the weekend. So how is the fighting between Hezbollah and Israel crimping peace efforts for the United States and Iran?
Yeah, well, it's crimping peace efforts, I would say, on a couple of fronts. One is what you're referring to about Iran, but also the United States and this administration, to its credit, has been trying to arrange a peace deal between Israel and Lebanon. And by agreeing to Iran's influence here in Lebanon, we're also standing in the way the administration is of their own goals, because you have the Lebanese government also hates Hezbollah. The Lebanon has been a source of bloodshed. I mean, not a source of scene, I should say, but also a source of bloodshed for so many years because of Hezbollah's presence in Lebanon. The Lebanese government wants Hezbollah weakened, they want them out. And the Israelis want the same thing. But by the administration, I think really foolishly, it's really kind of almost incomprehensible to me, but really foolishly agreeing to make Lebanon part of this agreement, it not only undermines, I think, the chances of any progress with Iran, which I think are pretty low anyway, but also undermines the chances of really a Lebanon-Israel peace. And I think what the administration should be doing instead, it would only help its leverage with Iran and bring peace to Lebanon if it backs the Israelis in protecting this northern border against Hezbollah terrorism, which is backed by the Iranians.
Okay. Michael Makovsky, President and CEO of the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Thank you for joining us on Morning in America. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to everybody.
All right.